All right, good morning. Welcome to another Friday morning safety meeting. Today is the 13th of March. Hard to believe how quickly that's going, and we're obviously in the new time today or this week. So, good job this week keeping safe because it's actually one of the most dangerous weeks of the year for all workplaces. Is the week following any time change. We are 8 days out of recordable injury, 8 days out of first aid injury, and 10 days without an at-fault vehicle incident. Today we're going to talk about nail guns and powder actuated tools. So we're talking framing nailers first. Nail guns, framing nailers, finish nailers, brad nailers, roofing nailers, any other nailer that you can think of. They're usually pneumatic, but nowadays they're becoming more and more battery operated, and some of them are going to be your hybrid options, like pass loads and stuff like that. So your best practices with any nail gun are never override any safety mechanisms. I'm sure we've all seen Happy Gilmore when he shoots the nail gun and he hits the guy in the head. Obviously, that's not really very realistic, but at the same time, we don't want to be doing anything like that. You only want to use the proper fastener, so you want to make sure that it's the appropriate length for whatever nail gun you're using. They should have some parameters. You want to make sure that they're the correct angle, so whether it's going to be a certain number of degrees, and that's going to be dependent on the type of gun and what kind of collating they have on the nails. And you want to make sure that they are the properly collated nails for what you're doing. And if you're using a framing nailer, you don't want to go putting brad nails in it. You want to make sure you use sequential trigger mode when possible. Sometimes when you're just going rapid fire on it, um, not only are you not coming all the way down on it and having the nails go all the way in, but it also just becomes more dangerous. So if you can do um, have to go through the full sequence of pulling the trigger for each nail fired, it becomes a lot safer. You want to ensure that you're nailing intended materials of proper thickness. So if your nails are going to sail right on through and there's somebody working on the other side, that's obviously not a good situation. You want to make sure you receive proper training. You want to read the safety manual and you want to follow the manufacturer's jam clearing procedures. Some of them can trap air, so you want to make sure that you're disarming them before you're sticking your fingers anywhere that could have a nail go through. For PPE, we want to wear safety glasses, steel-toed shoes, hearing protection, and gloves. Um, Open globe eye injuries are nasty. That's one thing that's not fairly common, but it can happen with nail guns. I've seen it myself, and it is something that you never want to have happen to you. The nail guns are one of those things, even at my own house. I might not be the best at wearing my seatbelt on my tractor and stuff like that. But whenever I'm using a nail gun, I always make sure that I'm wearing my safety glasses, even at home. So, powder actuated tools we get into next. And if you're going to be using these, the big thing is that we need to do more training than just this before you use them. So we want to ensure that you're properly trained, which, like I said, goes beyond just this class this morning. We want to read the operator's manual, inspect the tool for defects or damage, and select the proper load for your application. So acceptable materials to fasten into: poured concrete, structural steel, and masonry joints. You want to do a punch test to determine that the material is not too hard, too soft, or too brittle. Um, Once again, if you're going to be using these, we really need to do more training than what we're doing right now. So anytime you're using them, operators and bystanders must wear the proper eye protection. Keep the work area clear of bystanders and clutter. Never operate the tool if flammable or explosive materials are present. You want to never carry loose strips of loads in your pocket. Only load the tool when you're prepared to use it. Never place your hand or body in front of the tool. Use the tool and clean it well in a well ventilated area. And what it basically comes down to is you want to follow all your weapon safety rules and treat it as you would a firearm because it basically is a firearm. So that wraps up this side of things. Stop presenting.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Those new Milwaukee nail guns are pretty cool. I got one of those finish nailers. Actually, I have a 16 and an 18 gauge. Those work good. I don't know how the large ones work. I don't know if we have any of those for the
Yeah, they work very well as well.
framing.
Yeah.
I actually think they work better than the air ones. Okay, do you see my screen?
We do.
Okay. All right. So our code of conduct item of the week is to maintain respectful behavior whenever we're out there working, driving, or representing the company, and just remember to show regard for others and be positive and try to practice courtesy and alignment. Treat others the way you would like to be treated yourself. I think that's an important one out there to look professional, to maintain a respectful behavior. I thought of something this week based on how busy we are getting ready for everything. How can we improve our efficiency, the efficiency of our team? And it's all a lot of it's about managing our workload and staying organized and managing our individual workloads. It helps us meet deadlines, fulfill commitments, and support each other. We need to own our work, identify the tasks, and clarify any uncertainties we have with others so that we know what we're responsible for. Use a task manager. There's a lot of different apps and programs out there that do it for us that we have, but I use my field book. I got my field book. I always have little things in here, and I got a checklist. I got a checklist for my medications right here. My wife thinks I'm crazy because I draw them all up by myself, and she thinks I should use an electronic one, but whatever works for you is the best way to do it. I mean, if you want to put a piece of paper in your pocket and keep it with you, that's what I used to do in the field, or I had my field book with me. But keeping a to-do list or some way of knowing what your deliverable things are during the day is important because we get a lot of things that come up during the day, and it's hard to remember them all. So review and adjust those tasks in real time throughout the day. You got to prioritize your work. You need to understand the deadlines, and you got to triage it and find out what's most important. And sometimes we have to be flexible and jump around a little bit. When planning your time, use reasonable estimates and allow extra time for unexpected things that come up. This keeps us on track and improves our ability to meet deadlines without that unnecessary pressure that we all feel when we get behind. So be flexible. When priorities change, adjust the plan. If your workload becomes too difficult and you run into problems, ask for help. And finally, communicate if a deadline may not be met so adjustments can be made and expectations can be managed. So as owners of ECI, we're all responsible for setting ourselves up for success. So stay organized, plan ahead, and follow your schedule. We got to build these habits, and these habits and the accountability is going to help us meet the deadlines, deliver strong results, and support the team. This is a multi-task operation that we do here. It's not a linear thing a lot of times, and we get in trouble when we start practicing linear thinking, and we get stuck on looking at one issue that we got to do, and then we avoid or don't take care of their other obligations that might come up that keep us safe and keep our work moving. Um, that's probably a lot of why we like working here is because we like the variety of things to do. We're not in a factory just pushing a button, watching the product go by and go out, and it's always different. Every day is always different. So the big thing I see lately is people get stuck in a linear thinking mode, and then they start justifying not getting the things done that they need to get done because their excuse is that they're busy doing something else. Um, and that inhibits our production, and it can inhibit safety, and it can lead to people getting discouraged when some of us aren't seeming to pull our weight. So triage your priorities. Sometimes you got to stop, take a breath, and spend 15 minutes getting something else done that's going to get somebody else moving rather than telling somebody, I'm sorry, I can't get to it for 3 days because I'm booked, I'm busy. So you got to be flexible, and we got to multitask, but managing that is sometimes it's a tricky process, but it's something that a lot of us in time we get better at it as we do it. Just like flying an airplane. You fly an airplane, you look at just one thing, you're going to end up in the ground. You got to look at all the instruments. I'll take you up sometime and you'll see what that's like. So equipment focus and Chico or any of you guys, you can chime in, but it's warmer weather. Well, not today, but warmer weather's been coming. And just remember that the salt and the residual stuff that's all over the vehicles, warmer temperatures with moisture accelerates corrosion a lot. You could have salt sitting on something out there when it's 10 degrees and it doesn't do anything, but once it warms up and you start getting a little bit of melting, the reaction of oxidization changes and it increases with time. I mean, with temperature. Okay, so the other thing right now, we got mud season, a lot of these dirty roads. I saw an SDI truck the other day and it looked I couldn't even tell that it was an SDI truck. It was so dirty. It's hard to keep them clean, but we want to keep them looking good and keep them flushed off. So on the equipment side, flush them off, try to get under them when you can. On the vehicles and trucks, keep the salt and the mud and the dirt removed by flushing it. We get the flushing stations we talked about out here. You got one behind Chico's shop, one behind 99, and there is a hose available over at the driller shop as well. So we got 3 areas. Plus, we have that large hose that's right outside the gate here. I think it's probably 1.5 inch hose, and that baby can flush some stuff off quick if you need it. So get underneath the vehicle, try to get the hard to reach areas, concentrate on the fenders. And Chico always tells us to flush the wheels and around behind the brakes. They have a lot of issues with brakes seizing up this time of year. And the undercoating, just if you get the pressure washer, I mean, you flush underneath, but don't push it in there and take all the undercoating off if there's fresh undercoating under there. Remember the cabs. Clean and sweep the salt and the debris out. And if you get a loader or something that's in here, have the guys help you and we can flush that salt out of the cab, because you saw what it takes when we had to take the cab off the machine and put a whole another cab on. It took a lot of work, and a lot of it was just due to salt and corrosion from running them in the winter. So reach out to the shop guys if you have a problem or an issue, or if you have a question. If you have a problem with running the steam cleaners or a question about the hoses, let them know. Chico or any of you guys, you got anything to add on flushing and washing? I guess don't stick your hose inside the cab and spray it all over the instruments and all the electronics. So we want to announce our 4th annual kickoff meeting. It's going to be in March, on the 27th of March. Everyone that works here is invited and expected to attend. If you're on vacation or if you got approved time off, it's okay. I mean, we would love to have everyone there, though. People on layoff, we'll figure out how to get you. We're going to get you paid for it. Everyone's going to get paid for this event. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. It's going to be on our 3 weeks. It's going to be in March on the 27th. We're going to start at 11:30 and run to 3. It might run over a little bit, but those are our targeted hours, 11:30 to 3. We started a half hour early this year just because everyone gets hungry and they start eating at 11:30 anyway. So we figured we start at 11:30. It's going to be at 99, right across from my office here, in the shop. Same place we had the Christmas party. And we're going to have food, and we may have something to give you. Who knows? If you come, you'll find out. All right. So don't forget about the kickoff. The managers are going to tell you about it. There's a new ECI baby. So Paul Saber in 3 and Amanda Coda have a new baby girl. Paisley Jane Sabrin. Here's a picture of her. She was born on the 6th, 8 pounds, 3 ounces, 21.5 inches long. And there's her big sister, which is was a pretty cool picture. So I put 2 pictures in this week because I wanted to show that one. So congratulations, Paul, and proud Grandpa Paul. So we got both Paul Sabrins here. So congratulations, guys. We have a new employee. She started this week. Allie Hoffman. She's a project engineer intern. I think she's completing her first year engineering school. And so she's here this week. So welcome, Allie. I think she's going to have to go back to school for a little while. And then when she finishes, she'll be back here for the summer. So I'm glad she got a good start. So welcome, Allie. Okay, I see Phil Forster. You're on, aren't you? I see you there.
Yeah, I'm here, Ben.
Hey, Phil, do you want me to drive this one, or are you gonna do you want to just run your own? It's up to you.
I'll just take it. It's just easier to scroll and talk.
Yeah, thank you. So Phil's
Yep.
gonna do the project of the week. Thank you, Phil.
All right. Good morning, guys. We're doing Camp Precast expansion building this week. This was a project we completed this winter. Camp Precast approached GCI to perform the concrete work on this 120 by 140 expansion building. It's located in Milton, right on the beginning of Precast Road. And I put concrete in quotes because it was kind of a unique system. If you guys remember, we did a couple ICF form buildings once, and that's where the insulation's on their light panels and the insulation's on the outside, and then you pour concrete inside. These are kind of the opposite. And so the whole structure was constructed using these rapid blocks. And they're insulated precast panel insulated precast panels developed by a Canadian firm. And so they're made of 2 3-inch panels held separated by fiberglass rods with a 10-inch gap in the center, and that's filled with 5 inches of high density foam, and then the rest will be filled with concrete after the blocks are placed. They're about 8 foot long. I think they're 2'6" high. I could be wrong on that. But it's a system Camp wanted to try out for the first time and see how it went together and build a building as kind of a pilot program. And so we were there to help kind of install that. So the cavity between the panels, like I said, contains 5 inches of foam, and then the remaining space is filled afterwards, creating a structural insulated wall. Here you can see Nate and Johnny, I think, up in the lift. The rebar is laid in there and fished in there horizontally. It sits on the fiberglass rods, and then just quickly the verts are tied in. A fairly simple process. I know they kind of figured it out as we went, and it went fairly well. So after the building footing was first poured, the first course of blocks was carefully set using shims and constant level checks. We stressed in the beginning that the footings had to be set very level, and we had to take our time with the footings. In this case, since we're setting precast on it, we really couldn't afford to make it up in the wall as we sometimes do. And so the guys were very diligent with their grades. And then we just had to go around, find our high spots and shim the wall accordingly. And so the precision on the first layer was critical as it established the alignment for the entire structure. So you can see the guys bringing blocks in with the lift over the open cut. This was the frost wall that had to be buried later on. So there was just some kind of pre-planning. We shanghaied an excavator in the center prior to the excavation so that we had a machine there to place all the blocks. And here you can see that block wall is almost perfectly level, straight as an arrow. The insulation sometimes gives it the illusion that it's not, but the exterior face was very, very straight, and the guys did a really good job setting those. And then once the base cord was completed, additional blocks were stacked and secured using structural adhesive. You can see Austin putting that adhesive right to it. It's kind of an iterative process. With the cold temperature, the adhesive set a little slower, so that gave us a little more time, but it was basically every block had to be glued together, aligned and straightened. And then here's our first pour. So the system allows the crew to stack 3 courses high at a time. before the interior cavity has to be filled. And so the whole building, being 25 courses high and with the frost walls, it was broken up into 4 separate segments. We had a reducer on the pump truck, and there was a little team of guys going around the outside cleaning off the panels. And so you can see here, the exterior face is what you get as your finished product. It's kind of nice. You can see it right off the bat. And there's absolutely no bracing prior to the pour. The structure incorporated 4 windows, 2 man doors, and 2 large overhead doors. And those were also installed as the system progressed, and more so the frames, not the actual windows themselves. And so here you can see a window frame, same shape as the block, just sits right in there. And then the next block is set next to it, and they run over the top of each other as well. This is from Adam's view inside the cab. And then here are the overhead doors, and those were just big enough. We were able to squeeze our 500 right through those doors and set that up on the inside, because as the building grew taller, eventually we ran out of room with the excavator. So kind of a neat little photo there as we snuck it through there. So from a construction standpoint, the rapid block system offered a couple advantages. There was no temporary wall bracing and no stripping required. So you set your blocks, you tied your rebar, you poured, you waited a day, and then you continued. And from a customer standpoint, the insulation was already integral into the wall system, and so it's got a nice advantage they have there. Here are the guys setting with the crane, getting taller and taller as we kind of worked our way deep into the winter. The crew gained experience with the system, and they increased productivity. They were exceeding 6 blocks an hour, which is kind of peak summertime production rates, as that we were told. And even with the short days and the cold temperatures we had, and having to shovel off and cover up the wall every day, we were doing well past that as things moved along. So guys, here is the one of our flameless heaters. Every day we had to cover the wall with poly, heat the inside cavity space prior to the pours, and it was part of their system every day, and they did a really good job. They also built these little wall brackets that sit on top and kind of held the poly off the top of the walls, and allowed them to tent it fairly easily. So some nice ingenuity there. It's another early morning frigid shot, the guys, and you can see kind of the wall brackets holding the poly and holding the blankets in place after the pour. That one was nice view. That's Route 7 right there. So when you drive into Milton from exit 17, you can see that building sitting right there. So took about 26 days to finish the whole structure. That included all the holidays and the time over the break. So we started just before Christmas and we finished in the new year. And this was a new system for us. We tried a couple different lift styles, the man basket, scissor. We rented some scissor lifts. We tried our telescopic basket, and then this is the last pour. This is them topping off the top of the wall. The roof system goes on next. But it was good. It kept the guys were pretty innovative in how they both built the wall and all the different techniques they tried out to try to figure out what system worked best. And so this is the first building of its kind built in the United States. And Camp, it used it as their pilot building. So they eventually want to franchise these panels and these forms from Rapid Block and start producing these themselves. They wanted to see how the system worked and what that could offer. And then they would list ECI as their preferred installer. And so hopefully, down the road, as people see this new system, maybe they want to build their buildings with it. It would drive some business towards ECI, and we could become Rapid Block installers as one of our many services that we offer. And I think in general, everything went well. The guys had a good attitude, a lot of learning and a lot of ingenuity. And here's just a nice thumbs up from Willie McSoley.
Awesome. It's like Legos.
It was like Legos. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too when I was on site.
Yeah.
Building a Lego house.
I'm gonna send this one to one of my grandsons because he would love this.
Do it. Yes. Yeah. No, the guys had a good time.
They look like they'd work great for like substation control buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll alternate to I think a lot of times they use those insulated metal panels.
Yeah,
I think this would be a great solution.
can make a new ECI shop.
Good. There you go.
Can you scroll down to that and just leave that up? There we go. The archives. So I found this. This was the poster of Larry Sullivan. He worked here for 22 years, and that's just a retirement poster. Anyone that knew Larry, Larry exemplified uniqueness, right? We're all the people of you that I collect all the unique people and bring them here to ECI, and he was the ultimate unique person. He came to us from RJ Colton when they went out of business, as did some I think Randy Piper and Ken Munson also, and Arlen Smith. But when he got here, he had worked for Colton, and they used to shave everything down a little bit. So we were putting 12 inches of gravel in a parking lot, and we were supposed to be. And Larry's cutting the subgrade at 8 inches, and he started laying all the gravel out. And Al Pigeon came over, and we started looking at it. And Alan says, "You got to go down 4 more inches." We give them 12 inches. We do quality work here. We give them what they pay for. And Larry bit into that, and he loved it. Because he'd been trained to save money where he could by doing that. So he became the hero at ECI for being 100% dedicated to giving people quality work, sometimes to a fault. As Ben Heath will know, he did a job when Ben Heath was working for someone else, and he starts making the bike path wider because he says, well, they should have made it 12 feet, so we're going to give them 12 feet. Is that okay with you, Mr. Engineer? Because that's what we're going to do. So I had to watch him when I was his project manager to make sure I got change orders to do the work right sometimes and he always said, I don't care how they designed it or how you guys bid it, you should have known better to do it right. So Larry loved to do it right. The other notable thing about Larry is he adopted anybody that went to his crew, and he backed them up, and he took care of them, and he trained them, and he would get down on his hands and knees and teach young people how to put pipe together. And he would welcome the paving guys. He would welcome the drilling guys. He would welcome the concrete guys, and he would become part of their crew when they got there and integrate into a team that got things done. And that was the unique thing about Larry. I don't know, maybe Ronnie or Jim or some of you guys remember when the pavers would show up, he would throw his hands up and he would say, welcome pavers. And it wasn't like a sub coming in. It was a part of the team to help get your job done. So we miss Larry. He's still out there. He's retired. He's missed. So very, very good quality person. And he built a lot of great stuff for us. He was known as Dozer Man. The first time Alan and Pigeon and I were standing on a job, the first day he showed up, he was running the dozer. He could really doze. Adam Piper could attest to that. And some of the guys that have been around. A rock rolled off the edge of his. We were putting in bank run, and a rock rolled off, and he stopped the dozer, looked at Alan, looked at me, and the rock rolled to our feet, and he pointed at the rock and he said, "I'll be back for you." And then he took off. And Alan said, "Oh, I guess he's different." I said, "Well, he's unique." So Larry, if you ever hear this, we miss you. And it's not 6:59, and I'll turn it back over to Matt. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for that, Share. That's good stuff.
Larry.
If you're watching in a group setting, please send that over. Good job so far this week. Let's finish it strong. Let's be safe. Let's drive safe. Let's work together.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.